I have a confession to make. I am a mess. And if you are a teacher, then you may understand completely what I mean by that. And so, what I want to talk about are just a few ways that can help you be more successful. Talking about the technology that I share and teach my students, but I think it can be utilized across everywhere. Today, we're going to be talking about procedures. Let's do it. Procedures are the routines that you want students to do every single day. A lot of our routines and our procedures all come down to basic, simple things like making sure that students know how to do their bell ringer every single day, and they do it in the exact same way every single day, so that there is no mistaking how it should be done. Those routines will add to a better classroom culture. So for me, because I'm a giant mess, if I have a good procedure for things that get crazy complicated and have the possibility of getting really wrong and messy and super disorganized, if I have those good, clear procedures and routines, then it will make my life way easier. And that brings me to my assignment that I developed this specific procedure for. Each of these bags that are in front of me are filled with cameras. All of these bags have pretty expensive cameras in them. And so what I needed to do was to create a procedure that students would be able to use it for all of our projects for the rest of the semester. And so that's where the idea for this video came from. How does that look to actually start a new procedure in the middle of the year? And what tips should we be doing in order to make our procedures stick in these students' minds, whose attention span can only last as long as a TikTok video? That's what brings me to my first tip. And the first tip is to set clear and high expectations for your routine and your procedure. You want to make sure that you let your students know exactly why it's important that they follow this procedure every single time. If they don't, then you need to have some sort of consequence that goes with it. So, setting your expectations is an important step. Tip number 2 is to make sure to practice your procedures. If you don't give your students a chance to practice those procedures, and this isn't just a one-time thing like the first day of school or the first time you try to implement the procedure, it's all gonna work. No, you've got to practice it multiple times. One of my favorite teachers that I had a chance to work with was a guy named Mr. Walker, who was a band director. And he used to talk about the importance of procedures and routines in his classroom, especially teaching 6th grade band. And that's because he gave all of his students literal noisemakers. And if they didn't practice those routines, if he didn't set those expectations, then what ends up happening is absolute chaos and a cacophony of noise that will cause more headaches than anything else. All right. The third one is really important. The third is to remain consistent. If you don't hold your students accountable, they're not going to keep continuing to do whatever procedure that you want to happen. For some teachers, that really important procedure is the bell ringer procedure. Having students come in before the bell even rings and log into their computers or pull out their Chromebooks or get their sheet of paper and start that bell ringer. But consistency is a two-way street. You have to keep your students consistent, repeating the procedure every single day, but also have your students help keep you accountable if this is something you really care about. Have them keep you accountable by saying, hey, you're not following the procedure either. This will really help. So finally, is to have some cues that I can tell my students all the time. Hey, do the procedure. All right. If I'm working with cameras, trying to make sure that we are following the procedure. I will remind them, hey, you need to be wearing the strap on your camera so that you don't drop your camera and break it. The other thing I really care about is I hate when students try to put up early before the bell even rings, 2 or 3 minutes early. And all of my students know that this is my pet peeve. And what I do whenever I call them out is I call them a door zombie. Being a door zombie is whenever somebody tries to sneak their way to the door, and I hate it. They want to use some sort of excuse like coming and getting a Kleenex or throwing a piece of paper away so that they can be at the door ready to go as soon as the bell rings. So, to remind my students, I tell them every single time I see a door zombie, I say, hey, you door zombie, sit down. And it's turned into a bit of a meme in my classroom where students are talking about and calling each other out for being a door zombie. Now, if at any point someone is a door zombie, the punishment for that is pretty lighthearted. All I do is I make them be the last person out of the classroom, but I don't tell the students that. What I do is I say, hey, you're being a door zombie. You need to give me a high five before you leave the classroom. And what I'll do is I will move as far away from that student as I possibly can, and they'll give me a high five. So as you're thinking about your procedures, remember there are a few things that you can do to help you have a successful procedure. 1, make sure to set expectations for your procedures. 2, make sure to practice those procedures every single day. 3, remain consistent, keeping both your students and yourself consistent. And then finally, make sure to use the same verbal cues every time you want to reinforce your procedures. This has been the Bearded Lobo. I'm so pumped that you joined me for this video. It's been a long time since I posted a video. Hey, peace out.